What's up, guys? Welcome to week number 25 of my 2018 training. Overall, a relatively decent week here. I am now a full week into doing my PRI correctives again, and you can see the reflection in my lifts for this week. So starting off with the max effort bench workout here, we wanted to work with a pin press of some sort, somewhere from 2 to 3 inches off of the chest. And the Camber bar was already over here from doing good mornings the day before, so decided to just kind of leave it and screw around with this as a variation. Do I think we'll come back to our Camber bar pin press with chains ever again? Unlikely, but it actually ended up being decent as a training stimulus, and not too drastically different, honestly, than just doing a regular pin press, aside from the fact that the grip is closer. There's a bit of a stability component since the bar does tend to swing in your hands a little bit, and then obviously we've got the chains on there. So ended up working up with 120 in chain up to this top set here with 240, I want to say, in plate weight, or 265 in plate weight, and 120 in chain, and then decided to keep going up in chain and down in straight weight. So took this triple at 245 plus 140 or 160 in chain, then went 180 in chain with 225, I believe, and then did a top set with 205 plus 200 in chain, so 405-ish at the top. Probably not quite that much, just because the chains don't completely deload up or unload off the floor, although they do get close since I had the longest arms out of the group here. So close enough to being about 400 at the top. Overall, these felt pretty good. One of the things that I notice, and you may see on some of the reps here, is I tend to pretty much miss anything close to work weight the first try or two, because I struggle to kind of find my position and then get it tight to get the bar actually moving off the bottom. So that's why pin presses have always been a good accessory movement for me. One of the things that I did end up trying out on that day was just working with that little bit higher position, after listening to some work with Josh Bryant and even Dr. John Rusin. One of the things that they had both mentioned is that the advantage that you have as a longer arm bencher is a longer stretch reflex, which would explain why I always tend to get pop at least the first 3 inches off of my chest, regardless of whether or not I'll be able to finish the weight, and that is just more a function of speed. So working the pin presses a little bit off the chest actually tend to have better carryover, which also explains why the floor pressing and 2 and 3 board pressing I did most of last year helped drive my bench up. So just kind of keeping that in mind, comparing it with the things that have worked well in the past, and we'll be doing more work in that range of motion in the future. That brings us to the max effort day. I'm taking a week or so off of squatting here until my briefs come back. So what you're seeing is some reverse band pulls, worked up to 500 beltless, and then hit 545, and then a top set at 605. We rigged up just the light bands, so these are taking off somewhere around 40-50 pounds at the bottom is all. The bar does not quite touch the ground or drop down to this position, so maybe it's a little bit less, but either way, I'm pretty happy with how this moved. It's the first time I've had 600 in my hands for a while. If you notice here, I am pulling with a mixed grip. That is because I have decided that I pretty much hate the Rogue Ohio bar, at least for hook grip. The knurling on it is not very sharp. It doesn't hold very well. It tends to spin in my hands when I'm pulling with a hook grip. And even with a mixed grip, I just don't really like how it feels in my hand. So aside from the fact that the bar is red and black, I would pretty much trade it for a Texas bar in a heartbeat. So there's my review of the Rogue Ohio deadlift bar, I guess. Whatever, got it for a decent price, and it is gang colored, but not the favorite bar that I was hoping it would be. On the speed bench day, everything was moving relatively well here. Had no pain, went up to 3 chains aside here with 135. This is my last week of this dynamic wave until the next one, where I will be switching to bringing my feet back into the picture, and then probably adding a bench block or something, so work into like a 1 board. But these all moved relatively well. Was also able to do some dumbbell pressing, which I will keep in rotation for probably the next 3 weeks here. Worked up to this top set of 115s for a set of 10. Started them at 60 and ramped up, went 60, 80, 100, and then 115 for this top set. I don't know if next week I will try to push the weight up or if I will try and do like straight sets at 100. I'm going to kind of just go by feel and see what my shoulders are allowing me to do that day. But I superset these with some single arm rows. I did those with the kettlebell and just did them off of the slight incline bench that you see in the background there, just because it was close by. But at this angle I do tend to get a nice stretch in the lat. So you'll notice as I'm doing these reps, I'm trying to almost reach my arm forward on the eccentric or lowering phase, and then I'm drawing back, leading with the elbow on the contraction. And what this does is tends to give a lot of good scapular movement for me, and while also stretching out the lats. So follow these with supersets on Tate presses here. With the 50s and a seated cable row. I believe I did these both together for 5 sets of 15 to 20 reps. Just got a nice pump. So I actually like the Tate presses better on an incline than I do flat. If you have an easier time flaring the elbows out and the drop point for the dumbbells kind of being almost over like my chin throatish area, I can feel a lot better stretch on the long head of the tricep. So I will probably keep doing them like that primarily, although obviously not going to stick with just the one variation, since that defeats the purpose of rotating my accessories. So those with some seated cable rows pretty much closed out the dynamic bench day. I'm pretty sure it was this week here, or maybe it was the one afterwards, but one of these weeks I tipped a plate over and kind of smashed my toe. So you'll notice I am in flip-flops quite a bit here, and yep, and barefoot on this one. So this is a bash toe week. Did some actual squatting here on the dynamic day. Was able to work up to a regular speed weight, raw and without my briefs. So this all felt pretty good. As you can see here, there are a few sets in the beginning where you can see me pushing into my one side a little bit more. I didn't have any kind of symptoms of a shift, and as I started to get through my work sets and everything just got retaught how to be coordinated and fire together, my positioning at the bottom of the squat and my drive coming off of the box significantly improved about halfway through the working sets. So there's 10 total sets of 2 here. Once we get to one of the side angles, you'll kind of see how everything's smoothed out, and by that midway point, both hips were firing evenly. The squats felt strong and fast. I didn't have any kind of a shift, and aside from it just being a little bit difficult to root on that right foot just because of my big toe being smashed up, these all moved relatively well. I superset the squats with some double kettlebell swings. So for every double that you see here, I did 5s for the first few sets and then 10s for the last probably 3 or 4 sets of double kettlebell swings with 2 of the 50-pound bells. So keeping that in, so that way I am doing some explosive hinge work, since I'm not going to do speed pulls at this point on this day. So I'm still getting that effect in. And then followed this with rack pulls for sets of 5, and then a final set of 8 with 405. I dropped the pins down another notch, so the bar is down below the knees now. It was super hot and sweaty, so I ended up going 5s for the first few sets because the bar was sticking to my legs, and then with a little bit of baby powder on, hit a really easy set of 8, which made me wish I had put the baby powder on in the first place, but I digress. Oh well. After that, just hit some accessory work with single leg curls and some single leg press, and then some cable side bends. Went I think 5 rounds of that before closing out this workout, and a nice productive training week without too much dysfunction. So that is about it. Body weight, I finally hit my 235 goal and then ended up blasting past it, so I ended up clocking in at 228 by the time I benched the Saturday workout after this. So I'm going to start bringing calories up, but I'll talk about that in the next video. But for now, like and subscribe, check out savagegym.com, and I will talk to you next week.